Oh, I. Good morning and welcome to Ask the Manager. It's a freezing cold, the coldest day in years today, and we're here with our former Lieutenant Governor, Karyn Polito. She was the 72nd
Yes.
Lieutenant Governor of
Fourth woman.
fourth, is it four?
Fourth woman.
And you were the fourth woman on the Board of Select, elected to the Board of
Yes.
Selectmen, yes. So four's
My
your
lucky
number.
number.
Go play that number. And you, how long, you were a lieutenant governor for 8 years and a state rep for
10 years.
10 years. Where did the time go?
I know.
You must have been a little girl when you came on the Board of
course I was.
Selectmen. You were. And so here we are. And our questions, I'm sure, will be all over the place today because Karyn has such good knowledge of the town and she'll be able to enlighten us on her knowledge with the state, which we're very proud to have you as someone who represented us so well. And now you're, like you said, just Karyn. Isn't that nice?
I am, and I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, Donna, for having me, and Kevin, and thank you both for your leadership, especially during the hardest of times in COVID. We obviously communicated a lot during those very, very hard times for everyone. And Donna, this is like old, home day for us because we served on the Board of Selectmen together from 1995 to 1998. And I want to thank you for your mentorship then, and thank you for your continued involvement
I don't know how to go
in
away.
this community, especially on the committee for the new police station. I'm thrilled to see that happen, and it's beautiful from the outside, and I can't wait to take a tour soon to see all that it offers inside for this community. So it's great to be back.
Thank you. And the evening that you walked out of the State House was so exciting. I was taking pictures of the TV, and my husband saying, "Why are you taking pictures?" And I said, "Because Karyn's mother's going to want these." And I sent them to her mother. But that was an exciting time, and you both looked so happy coming out of the State
I'm not
House.
sure if it was Charlie and me or Lauren and Steve.
Right.
They were very happy. It was a glorious walk away after an incredible 8 years and prior service in the legislature and, of course, in this community. And for me to be able to walk into a private life after having those extraordinary opportunities, especially alongside of a great leader and a great person in Charlie Baker. And I thought it was a wonderful moment for us to do it all together, because it isn't just the principals who serve, the families also give so much because you're not always around when they need you.
Mm-hmm. And you no longer have a driver.
Oh, I'm going to correct you on that.
Oh,
Because I have a new driver.
your husband?
It's Steve. Steve Rodalakis has some big shoes to fill. I had an incredible unit of wonderful people who became like family in the executive protection unit for the governor and for me. And just terrific. So Steve observed closely, and he's now able to cart me around, which is really fun for both of us.
But does
maybe
he
more fun for me.
Does he drive as well as the troopers?
Of course, he drives very well. I will certainly not be correcting him on any of those details.
That's good. That's good. And so, and then you're home, and happy to be at home.
I am. A lot of people say, "How does it feel?" I said, well, I feel grateful to have had this incredible opportunity, and it all really started here in my home area where I had the beautiful chance of growing up here and to raise our two children here and to come home literally and physically be here every day, and not just in the morning and at night, but to really be home feels wonderful. To be close to the family business, to be close to the things that I enjoy so much about this great town, and to have a little bit better control over my time and the things I want to do at this next chapter in my life.
Not to mention she gets to look out the window at the lake,
Yes.
the beautiful lake.
It's a beautiful lake. We're very, and an historic property that we value what its place was in the heyday of lake life.
Now, don't get too involved too fast in anything. Be careful not to commit, because you'll get people asking you to volunteer. Just be careful on what you commit to so that you can work it in slowly and do what you really want to do and enjoy.
Well, Donna, you haven't been very judicious in that area because you say yes to everything.
Yeah.
I try not to.
Do what she says. Not
Yeah,
what she does.
that's right. And I hear that in my household also. So, exciting. Market Basket's open. And I haven't been there yet. Have you been there?
Yeah. Karyn and I were there on the same day for a little tour, and what a special place. You know, wonderful for the community. You know, the MB Spirits was next door, was really neat with their historic tile floor and everything that they have. And they were really great hosts that day. Very passionate about the grocery business. I think it was the most passionate person I've ever seen in a grocery store.
That's nice.
Giving us the tour, and what a just amazing Massachusetts family business that we have the honor of having in Shrewsbury now. So I really enjoyed it.
I thought it was terrific, and I do think that's a big part of their brand, is being a family business. Not only the family, the Demoulas family that has stewarded that business for years, but the family of people who they recruit to be part of their work family. There's a lot of loyalty there. I mean, there would be people say, Bob, 40 years, Nancy, 42. I mean, there's a great pride in working for that enterprise. And I love meeting some of the new people that they brought in and how they felt that they were onboarded, invested in the training. So they have opportunity to come up through the ranks of that organization, become a manager someday, and they can see that in other employees. So it's great. They have everything.
Yes.
And, they don't dig deeper in your pocket. I mean, it's a very affordable. As you know, I've been there. And it's on my way to work. So I can stop there and pick up coffee or whatever. And it's just wonderful. It's always busy, though. And you can see that from the parking lot, which is great.
Yeah. So I had the fear of the parking lot, so I haven't pulled in to go inside the store yet, but I'll do it some early morning. And I'm sure I'll come out with more than I planned when I enter, because their stores are so welcoming, and they have such a nice selection.
And it took a property that was underutilized
Yeah.
and really an eyesore for the community and put it into a productive use. And kudos to the community for embracing housing on that unit, on that land, and bringing a number of units into production for the Commonwealth, which is in dire need of affordable housing and choices for people to be able to live here. And then to have the business enterprise, the commercial enterprise up front, brings the additional tax revenue to the community.
Yeah, and really two major state grants that you helped us get, right? The first one for the city of Worcester, to help expand their sewer and our sewer system, which was the key to unlocking the Route 20 corridor. And this Market Basket project is going to be the first in many projects where some of the properties that couldn't be put to their fullest and highest use are going to have that opportunity because of sewer. And then the second one was almost a $4 million Mass Works grant that you helped us get for the roadway improvements, which has really performed really well. So that parking lot may be full, but traffic is moving well. We had to tweak the traffic signals after the first weekend, but that was probably because it was just overcrowded. But yeah, a really successful project, public partnership on both the state and the local side, and we still talk to MassDOT and their partners, so it's a great project. Yeah,
it's a great project, not only for the transportation upgrades there and the economic development, but also the improvements for runoff into the lake and water body there was also upgraded along that Route 20 corridor from Worcester to Shrewsbury, so an added benefit for Lakeland Sigeman.
And we have other projects coming up on Route 20 since this has all begun.
Yeah. Yeah, there's been interest right across the street, you know, a project that was being permitted that had some electric, you know, vehicle charging aspects to it, and there's a warehouse down the road a little ways that you know, GFI Partners is considering the development of, and they're a planning board for that. So yeah,
And
there's
how will the
there's-
traffic flow be along Route 20, east-west?
Well, there's a lot of improvements
is
that are
that
going to take
north-south?
place, you know, throughout the entire Route 20 corridor. I remember that wonderful day that we had at Alhambra Academy talking about the federal grant that, once again, of course, Karyn orchestrated to help us, you know, help the community with the Route 20 corridor master plan. And that's really a safety improvement aspect that will bring 4 lanes of traffic consistent throughout the corridor to help keep traffic moving, but also keep people safe, and bring some more signalization and modern approaches to traffic. There have been some high crash intersections that will be addressed through that, especially at South Street, and that's really in the planning phases right now. Yeah.
I learned a lot from my work here in Shrewsbury, and it brought me to the other 350 cities and towns of this Commonwealth. So I'm always grateful for going to the Richard Carney School of Municipal Government.
No kidding.
And having learned so much about that through Dan Morgado and now you, Kevin. But I think about some of the things we were talking about when we were on the Board of Selectmen back in the 90s are still relevant issues today. And that is all about diversifying the tax base so that it doesn't heavily fall on the residential taxpayers. So you're looking for opportunities to redevelop or develop under or unutilized commercial and industrial property. So it does allow us to think more strategically around the north and the south parts of Shrewsbury, where there are parcels of land that can be put into productive use and bring more tax revenue to town. So I know that you and your planning department are working actively in those areas.
Yes. Yeah, and you know, of course, we're scrambling because Kristen Loss is no longer with us, and wish her well as Westford town manager. You know, she started there earlier this week. But yeah, there's a lot of interest and a lot of things before planning board even right now on Route 9 and Route 20. And we have unlocked it also with zoning, Route 20 overlay district, which, you know, provides unique opportunities to businesses and commercial developers to help make development easier for them in that area.
So you talked about Kristen leaving. She has been long overdue to become a town manager
I
somewhere.
feel like it's too soon, Donna.
It is too soon. We didn't want her to leave, but in fairness to her,
She's great.
she was certainly qualified to take that job. And having been involved in interviewing people for town manager when you came, and even when Dan interviewed, there aren't quality people out there that you go, that's the one, very often. You know, when they come along, and she's one of those people, and I'm sure she'll do a, you know, very good job in Westford, and we will miss her. And she's another person who came here very young and grew up in the town manager's office and planning, and she was so knowledgeable and presented herself so professionally at town meeting, and you could always count on her to have the answers. So she'll be an asset to the people up 495 for sure.
Yeah. Can I give a plug to municipal service, not only elected and appointed, but your career as a municipal manager, and how important these jobs are to the health and well-being and future success of this Commonwealth. In fact, I want to thank you because I put a call to action out there before leaving office at the state level for municipalities to open up to our new fellowship program, where we are working with our community colleges and targeting the deans in the accounting and management programs there to identify students that can be fellows in municipal government. And we set up a program where we'll pay a stipend for that student to go to work in municipal government. And I would say, by and large, if you're at, say, Sangamon Community Colleges studying accounting, you're not thinking, maybe I could go work for Shrewsbury Town Hall. So we're trying to get people who are plugged into these programs and already are thinking about these kinds of skills in math and analysis to think about municipal service as a way to have an incredible and meaningful career, which is true for you as well.
Yes. Yeah, and we're excited to participate in that first round. I'm not sure if it's the first round. There may have been years before this, but
This is the first.
is
That
it?
was the
Oh,
first
that's
one under
awesome.
this
Yeah,
program.
no, this is. I'm excited about this, about the opportunity. I love working with young people, and I love bringing them in and helping them learn about
Well, it could be a
local government.
lateral move as well for someone that is in a different
That's
career
true. That's
that
true.
wants to change and go
Absolutely
into
right. Yeah,
municipal
absolutely
work.
right. And I know that's a program that you've worked on for since 2017, because it's a huge gap in local government management right now. The financial side, finding a treasurer collector, finding an accountant
Right.
is one of the most scary things for a manager whenever you have someone like Mary Thompson, or other seasoned people who have built their career in local government walk away. And finance is critical, and it's not a little operation. We're dealing with hundreds of millions of dollars every year, with a lot of rules behind them, and it's really rewarding too, because we can make that difference and apply those dollars to wonderful things in the community.
There's a lot of openings in municipal government, but also in the private sector,
Right.
where there are workforce gaps around anything in STEM.
Mm-hmm.
And so that conflict is there. So it's a real shout out to those who are listening at home. If you have sons or daughters or friends looking to come into municipal government to begin or enhance your career, now's the time.
And you can't say enough how important finance is in your job. If you aren't strong in finance, you're going to fail as a manager in municipal government, because it's not something you can hide. You have to be right on all the time.
Plus, you're trying to be as efficient as possible with the taxpayer dollars, so that you can steward the services that are so important to the quality of life for the people who live in the city or town.
We've recently had two huge steals, I have to say, and I want to give them a shout out. So we have Julie Tierney working in our office, who has worked for Bose and was looking for a career change, and is in their product development. And we have her in our office now, and Christine Muse, both Shrewsbury residents.
That's great.
Who is in a major investment corporation, who's in our business management division now. She was looking for a change, so. We can keep people busy and excited, and we're happy to have them on board.
Now, you've made so many changes in Shrewsbury's town government that I can't keep up with them. I really can't. And you name names, and it's like, I haven't seen them yet. And those changes aren't bad. That's progress. But it gives the illusion that you've spent so much money to make those changes. How would you comment on that?
Well, I mean, we are growing the organization. We're almost 40,000 residents. It's our goal to provide the services that residents want. So as we've changed the way we operate the business, we've also turned to the residents more and asked them, what services are they looking for? What opportunities do you want us to exploit? What would you like to see different? And we're working hand in glove with that. But I think one of our biggest success stories that shows that resources matter is in our water quality initiatives. We built a new water treatment plant, and we had lower quality water. And when we put resources to it, we're not getting phone calls anymore. People don't have to worry about doing a load of laundry and getting high manganese levels and cleaning it up. So. Sometimes it does take me more resources to provide the services, but I think all in all, I'm always focused on value, and I think that the value still is very high, or as high as it's ever been in the community, and that's just not on a tax bill comparison. It's I'm very proud of the quality of services that we provide to the community.
And not to mention, you've been quoted as saying, you're here as a town manager to serve the residents.
I love my job.
Yeah, that's nice. Stay here.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're here to serve the residents. And so that means you're always looking and asking, how can I do a better job? How can I serve the residents in a better way? So that's progress. That's what needs to happen in order for us to move forward. The other interesting, it's not foreign, but it's interesting, is that you have strategic plans, you have ARPA funding money, where's that going? What can you tell us about, for example, the strategic plan?
Yeah, so we're really proud of the
What that really means?
Yeah, I mean, it's first we turn to the residents and ask them, how can we be a better local government? And what is it that you want us to focus on? And there's 5 strategic outcome areas that they identified, and we received, over 4,000 unique engagements with residents over the course of 10 months, and we built a plan. And now we're focused on implementing that. How do we improve recreation opportunities? How do we improve communications with residents? How do we continue to be the best fiscal stewards of those dollars that we bring in? So, it provides a guiding light to us on how we're going to perform our operations. And in a tough budget year, which every year is a tough budget year in government, it focuses the resources to make the greatest impact.
I think that's really important for the future competitiveness of this Commonwealth. And you're starting to see, how people, decide where they're going to live and where they're going to work. And one of the features, I guess, that came out of the pandemic is that people can pretty much work from anywhere. So that's here to stay. And at the same time, Massachusetts is a high-cost state in which to live. So you have to give people a quality of life, and that's through the services that they receive every single day that really matter. So that quality of living in a town like Shrewsbury makes the difference for someone to say, well, do I want to stay here and raise my family or go someplace else and uproot because my dollar can go further? But maybe I'll stay because the services from education to public safety and everything else that you see on that survey list matter to me. So that's how we tether people to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, even though it costs more, is that they get a whole lot more in terms of their quality of living.
And in Shrewsbury, you do get more for your tax dollar. People don't realize that living other places, but they're spending so much money on their taxes, on utilities. It's just more expensive for them to live where they are, thinking the house in Shrewsbury is more expensive, but not realizing once they get here, they're getting so much more for their dollar.
I think that's really great that there was that level of engagement on the survey question that you put out there. That's great that people are paying attention and they want to know how they can help you make good decisions, but how they can also get involved. There are many boards that you can serve on as a volunteer. So more than just sort of lob their idea to you, but it really takes some action and serve. It's an incredible experience.
Actually, next Wednesday night, I'll put a plug in. The select board, mainly orchestrated by Teresa Flynn, is holding a forum for people so they can learn more of what it means to be a town meeting member and to run for other elected offices and what they should think about and how that process works. And it's all about just sharing information, and information is power, and taking some of the uncertainty away from it and the myths away from it, and just having a dialogue with folks. It'll be at the senior center, and we hope a lot of people come and are interested.
That's good. Now, progress across from the bowling alley, you had that area where there were factories that were run down. Now it's wide open space, soon to be filled with many cars, I assume. And that's progress. Do you have anything? That's the McGovern Group?
Yeah, that's McGovern Auto Group, and there's actually a 62,000 square foot floor and more flooring retail center that's going to be built there. Between the two businesses, you're talking over 100 full-time jobs, which is huge. We love that. Bringing more jobs to the community and opportunities and tax dollars is what we look to do. The thing that I'm most excited about that development is McGovern Auto will do a lot of their municipal vehicle fit up. So I look forward to better partnership with them, especially when it's really tough to get police cruisers these days. So yeah, that's a relationship that we're looking forward to building.
And as you ride through Worcester County, you'll see clusters of cars, and you say, what is that? And it's actually part of the McGovern Group in other places. And I'm wondering if once this is open, if that's all going to end up in Shrewsbury. In one place, I think it's in Boylston, you see all the cruises lined up, and it will be good for Shrewsbury to have that. Now, you talk about bringing tax dollars to the town. With the cannabis and the marijuana facilities that we now have, what have we seen in profit to the town?
Well, we're averaging in about $350,000 a year in excise tax revenue from the marijuana establishments.
And has there been any negative impact that you're aware of?
I mean, definitely not to the level of some concern that was out there in the general population as, it became a
We
law.
thought everybody was going to
Yeah.
pull out stoned, but we're not
Yeah.
seeing that.
Yeah, I mean,
As you drive by, I look and I think, boy, this really, for the money we're getting, it really doesn't have a big traffic impact, or it just happens and it just seems to go with the flow.
very well regulated industry in the Commonwealth, and a lot of oversight, and it could have gone a lot worse, or it could have gone wrong, right?
And
if
you
it
were
wasn't
on the
done
ground
well.
floor with developing all the regulation around that, and it's highly regulated.
It's highly regulated. I think there will be some consolidation that will take place in the industry, especially in some areas where there's a higher concentration of stores and dispensaries. At the same time, Massachusetts has led the nation in changing its driver curriculum to incorporate the programming around impaired driving. So if now that it's legal and there are dispensaries, it's important that the public is safe and that drivers understand and are aware of impairment due to use of cannabis. And so there's always ways to keep improving the industry. So I think that it's really important to have a good municipal sort of vetting process around that as well.
And there's an office that's going to be on Harrington Ave. Is that in that new building that's going up? And what will that be?
So it's what's called a courier license, and
Delivery service?
There'll be a delivery service with no. They won't have their own inventory or stock. So think of DoorDash or Uber Eats or something like that. So it's really just a delivery service from other retailers, and we're happy to have the business in Shrewsbury, have them open up here once that space is built.
And what will that mean in tax revenue?
There's no excise tax associated with that for the town because, again, if it's purchased in one of the two Shrewsbury retailers, then of course that excise tax would come to Shrewsbury, but they'll deliver to communities all throughout the region, whatever their business plan is.
What else is going in that Harrington Ave building?
I haven't heard. There's a residential component to that, but I don't know that the rest of the retail aspects are fit out at this point, or leased out at this point.
Well, one positive is the people that live there can come out and walk across the street and go to Tavern in the Square, and they won't have to fill the parking lot that's already full with so many people, which, when I say that, I go by and I see dollar signs for the town because Tavern in the Square obviously has a tax that they provide
Yes.
to Shrewsbury,
Meals tax.
and so that thriving business brings money to us.
Oh, it's a great redevelopment of the Spags property that we knew, obviously, growing up.
And he seems to be a good neighbor,
Oh, yes.
Lakeway.
Very good neighbor.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always busy there, but I think a nice mixed use, housing as well as commercial activity
Well kept.
is very well kept. Howard Grossman did a really good
Yeah,
job.
he did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. We're very fortunate.
And so when Patrick Motors moves out and moves to the corner of South Street, when that's all resolved, what will go in where Patrick Motors is?
It's just an opportunity right now for future development, and it's part of a Lakeway overlay district, which provides a lot of flexibility. And I hope, and I also think that it won't take long for the right investor to come along and reimagine that space. So we're looking forward to that.
And then across the street, there's another project. Is that also automobiles next to the apartments? Not South, right, just before South Street, right after the Granite Building. There's something going in there. on that property, or it's extending into that area. And I know the neighbors were really concerned about how they were going to be impacted by that development.
Not picturing that one, sorry.
Granite Street,
Okay.
between Granite Street, and I'm just blanking on the name of the apartments. I just keep seeing low school bus, low student ratio right there.
Yeah.
But there's going to be, it's a car sales
Okay.
place.
Oh yeah, smaller automotive
Right,
dealership. Yeah.
yeah. Anything happening there? Is
No,
just
I mean,
moving along?
that is moving along. Yeah. Yeah.
And then we have to talk about the police station, because if you drive down Maple Ave, you can't miss that beautiful building.
Yep.
They're moving in in another week or so,
That's correct. Yep.
and that's going to be a big move, but out of a tiny building, which I don't know how they even existed in that building for as long as they did, into this wonderful place. And then about mid-March, the old police station will come down, and the reasoning for that building coming down and not being used is,
It was just a challenge to redevelop. You can imagine how fortified a police station is. It was it was a cement block structure, and we'd love to have used it for office space if we could have, but it was just way too costly to be able to renovate that building into something usable for the town. It was recommended that after we studied it, that it come down, and it'll be incorporated into a really beautiful campus setting. The front area near Maple Avenue will stay a park, and what we all know and love is the Sacred Acre will get expanded, and trees will be planted, and it'll be a really beautiful feature on a growing municipal campus.
Let me just say something about policing here in the Commonwealth. We obviously have always had a strong emphasis on community policing, and that has been a high priority here in Shrewsbury. But a lot has changed, especially years back with George Floyd and the legislative and our administration's efforts around police officer standards and training. So taking the community policing model and then bringing it to another level. So we are investing a lot more in recruiting and training and best practices and strategies and equipment, body-worn cameras being an example. So there's a lot of, it's complex, plus it's also really important that we have high standards and we have training and investment in these officers to be able to do their jobs, to meet the public's needs. And so to have a facility that can include all of the technology and equipment and training and investment is clearly important. And unfortunately, we see in other places in the country where this isn't as highly valued as it is here.
Right.
So I want people to really hear that here in Massachusetts, here in Shrewsbury, that we have the highest of standards that we hold our officers accountable to.
Yeah. One of the really most interesting and high-tech aspects of the new police station that we look forward to sharing and showing the public is this de-escalation and high-tech training room that will have screens on 3 walls, and there's over 3,000 different scenarios that an officer will almost like virtual reality immersed within, not with live fire, but with replica weapons, and they'll have to make decisions. And as they make decisions, it'll be teachable moments within the confines of the own police station, so they can learn and build and de-escalate. And
I've actually been able to put on the gear and experience one of those trainings. And I'm not obviously trained to do that, but you have someone in real time changing the scenario. So there is really no way to anticipate what the person you're trying to help is experiencing. So it's a great training. And just don't forget it's not just law enforcement. It is people that are dealing with mental health issues, traumatic stress. There's a lot of needs that have obviously become known to us that police are trained to respond to. And
they're not just trained.
very
We actually have the social worker who is now
Yep.
is an expert with dealing with mental health issues, and all I get is really positive feedback about how that's working and how they're working together as a team. Do you foresee that we will need more than one social worker now that we
I think
have?
it's definitely a possibility in the future, and we've been very successful over the last 10 months. And
Depending upon calls.
countless
and how it
stories of
works.
having
Right.
the mental health clinician co-respond or follow up, not use law enforcement as our sole representatives out in the community when we're helping people. And it's been very successful. I just heard of another story from last night, very challenging situation with a younger resident that we helped peacefully get, to the hospital, and it could have gone a lot worse. But, that's our mental health clinician, that's the training of our officers, that's their compassion that they bring to the community. And, that stems from, the investments that we make in them, having beautiful police facilities and the right tools and equipment and training. And I'll just say one more thing. It's, in Massachusetts, police officers have the duty to intervene. And a lot of other states don't have that duty. And so if, it's led to tragic events even recently in law enforcement in other states. And we're different in Massachusetts. We have higher standards and different rules, and that starts from day one at the academy, which has led to a lot better outcomes.
And I think the emphasis on training and how we invest in our public safety officers is really important in order to recruit the men and women to want to serve and take on these very serious and complex jobs. We've also done a lot of work around domestic violence here in Shrewsbury. It's not just going and responding, which are very dangerous calls for officers, but holding the perpetrator accountable and then the warm handoff for the survivor to be able to get the services and support that mostly she, in the circumstances that we see, needs for herself and for her children.
And what I hear both of you saying, and I do believe it, that other than having a police department that we all can be very proud of, that we or you as the top dog in town, we support our police officers. And so they feel that support. They know that they're supported. They're there to do their job as a professional. They're there to do it with pride and with the skills that they need, which there's so many skills required for that job. It's not just shooting a gun or figuring out how to deal with violence, but all the skills that it takes to be a police officer. They're supported in this town. They're supported in the state, but they're supported in the town.
Oh, I'm so proud of them. I send more thank you so much, that a boy, that a girl, amazing work. The stories that I hear from Chief Anderson to patrol officers to everyone in between it's humbling, and we're grateful to have them.
Well, and that's the point. Those are probably not the stories that you read or see
Right.
in the news.
Right.
Well, I'm grateful that you know about them and you and I know about them, but that happens all the time.
does.
I watched
the
that
saves.
awful film one time. I couldn't even watch the whole film, but I can never watch it again. Some people go back and watch it. I can't. That's horrible, and no one should discount how horrible that was. And I can't even imagine how something like that could happen on so many levels. But so we're not in a fairy tale world when we're singing praises of our police department in that way, because there are very dangerous situations for a lot of reasons. But they go in with the right attitude, and I think that's so important. But going on, Council on Aging has this interesting program that they received a grant for supporting caregivers. And I saw that it was $8,000, and I thought, do you realize how fast that $8,000 is going to get washed away? That's really not a lot of money when it comes to trying to help multiple people with caregivers. But I admire that there's that support and there's a beginning.
Can you give us a sense in Shrewsbury of our population, what the demographics are age-wise of people at a category receiving services?
Right. So
eligible
So
services.
if we go with a rough number of 40,000 total residents, we're approaching 6,000 over the age of 60. So an aging population for sure,
Yeah.
and provide critical services to them. And that's a very interesting program that you talk about. It's a respite care program, which
Yes.
provides caregivers relief. So when
Right.
you're caring for a loved one, that takes a lot out of individuals, and it gives them a little breath of fresh air for, an afternoon a week where, we help provide that care in our facilities, and those caregivers hopefully get to do something very refreshing with their time and get a break. Yeah.
Now, Civico Greeley, 1 to 7 Maple Ave, Farmer Beal, Old Beal, is moving along as far as planning goes, going to all the committees, planning board, etc. What I think gets lost if you're watching these meetings while the planning board is doing their best to try to, do what's right, make the right decisions, not just for the town, but for the people. And I think it's important for people to stop and realize the people that are directly abutting this property have concerns. And they should have concerns. They voiced their concerns and they're being heard. Someone's paying attention. Someone is going to do their best to do something about what their concern is, because I think that gets lost in a lot of what I see as nastiness. Now, I do believe they have fears, but someone's fueling those fears. Instead of bringing people together and saying, oh, you don't want headlights in your kitchen or in your living room? Why don't you want? No, instead saying, we'll do our best to make sure that those driveways are set up in a way where it doesn't shine into your house. Now, I don't know if that can happen all the time, but I think that their intent would be to do their best to prevent that. Issues around parking. Everybody has those issues. It's in their face because they live there. So they need the reassurance that there's a plan and that plan is going to be the best it can be to not negatively impact the neighbors. At the same time, the neighbors have to realize they're abutting a business zone. And I grew up behind Spags, so I lived business zone. I just think that there needs to be the communication as we hear you, we're doing our best for you, because that's what it's all about. The planning board isn't there to hurt the residents. They're there to hear what they have to say and to be able to do something. But there's so much mistrust right now that it bothers me. And it bothers me because I firmly believe that there's good intent. And they just need to communicate that. And don't get lost in the chaos of whatever anger is out there.
Like, one of the things I've learned in my work across the Commonwealth is every community is different, which is beautiful in that sense. And every community has an identity and a sense of history and something that they're proud of. But I also know, coming out of the pandemic, downtowns, or that center, in our case, is sort of part of that identity and what you think about in terms of what the town is like. And so kudos to all of you. And I know there was a grant that we helped with to do that study about what should the center of town look like going forward. What are the key features that need to be involved in that plan? So you've mapped out in a planning exercise and got a lot of input from the community and those in the neighborhood to give you a sense of what to look for and what to incorporate into the town center. There are more opportunities, certainly, beyond what you know today, to help create a downtown and a center activity or activities that will represent what people want in this community. There's a process, is the point.
Yeah, and that's just where we're at. The initial plans are never the final plans, and we'll always work, and we receive feedback at various times. Sometimes that's hard to see because it's so early and it's visioning work, and then things get put on paper and we make revisions whenever they're needed. And certainly, again, the first plan that was presented for this project isn't going to be the final plan. And actually, the developer's coming into the select board at their next meeting to talk about how they can be responsive to these changes, which is why we picked them as a good partner in this type of development, because they do this type of work. Who would really want to buy a piece of land and then make these negotiations and then go through double jeopardy in front of the planning board and the public. Many bites at that apple for people to criticize. But I mean, and kudos to the planning board. They are, for all intents and purposes, volunteers. I think maybe they get $100 a year or something like that. But they're dealing with emotion and really technical and complex zoning considerations, and they're trying to balance both of them. So I appreciate all the time and effort that the planning board puts into not only this project but every project. They've never found them in an easy spot. I can promise you that. Themselves in an easy spot.
It seems that they're taking a lot of the brunt right now, as a committee. And I watch it and I think, oh God, I hope, someone just brings these people together, because I think that's what needs to happen. Go slow children signs. If I want a go slow children sign in my neighborhood because there's children around, and unfortunately people don't realize that they're driving through a neighborhood and they should respect and go the speed limit and be careful. I shouldn't have to pay for that sign. Now I'm not looking for a sign. But I was really surprised to hear that if you want that sign in your neighborhood for whatever reason, why should the resident have to pay for that? Why wouldn't the town say, my pleasure, and put the sign up? I don't get that. And how many requests do you get in a year?
Probably get 1 or 2 a year.
Wow.
And it is the policy of the select board that
Policy number 355. I'm being sarcastic because we never had policies. Somehow we survived.
Advisory signs like this, we do ask the resident that requests it to pay for the initial cost. We install it, and it's really to prevent oversaturation. And
What is the cost?
they're about $85 a piece.
So in a
We can
year,
make an argument both ways, right?
No. I think that if someone's seeing a problem with cars speeding through their neighborhood and there are children, that sign is not a bad thing. It may not be an enforceable sign, but it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Just my opinion. What do you think? Put you on the spot.
When it comes to children, your safety of children,
Yeah.
we as a community have to do everything we can to make sure that
Right.
they're not compromised.
Right.
I'm sure there's a way to address the issue without having to be so stringent, perhaps on the fee.
Just thought I'd ask.
You can't put a fee against the safety of a child.
Sure.
Is my point.
Yeah.
I think we only have about 10 minutes left, but I don't want to lose track of the thought that you have a podcast. You're a star now. You have podcasts, TV
I do
shows.
have a podcast.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, so we started the Town Manager Download podcast. We have 6 episodes out there, and our goal is to educate people on local government and have fun doing it. And we bring on guests and town staff to really dive deep into their daily work and tell that story about why they're in local government and how they've gotten involved. And we hope, and with the feedback that we've received, is that people are learning more about local government, and we're kind of demystifying some of the processes that we use on a day-to-day basis, and that's really the goal.
I think this is fantastic,
Yeah.
by the way,
Yeah.
because it is the least appreciated but so important level of government. And it's kind of irritating to me that when it comes to voting, everyone votes in the presidential election, but they don't necessarily get out there and vote in a municipal election.
Right.
And it is the most important level of government in terms of how it hits your level of services every single day. Your kid's getting on a bus, your permit for your dog, your small business has a license. I mean, everything about day-to-day living comes from local government. And I mean, the kinds of jobs that to take a lineman at Selco, take the DPW that has to get out there and make sure storm drains work and streets are plowed and sidewalks are functioning after a storm to get kids to school. Like so many things that people just assume somebody does them. That somebody is your neighbor, is someone who works in that public facility that you drive by every day and don't know what the heck goes on in there. And these are people that are very dedicated, 24/7, always available, And in this level of work, inevitably something always happens that you can't predict and plan for every morning when you go to report for your shift. And you have to be there and you have to cover for each other. And they're incredible, dedicated people. And I admire and love them all.
So she just gave you an idea. Instead of having the department head in, you have the linemen.
Oh, we'll
and
have
you have
everyone.
those.
Yeah,
See?
yeah. No,
No,
yeah.
you just gave them
I have
more
this
shows.
dude, it could be like undercover boss.
Oh, yeah.
They might know you. They might be able to discover
They
you.
might be able to figure
but
it out.
really reveal the kinds of skills and the kind of work that they do,
Yeah.
so that people can really understand the level of commitment that these individuals give every day.
And I think what you're doing is people who don't go into town hall and they don't go to the different departments, you're bringing town hall to them. So it's like, you know, when Kristen was on, that's honest, forgive me, that's the only one I've had a chance to watch part of so far. But she was on and it's like, this is who I am. And you know, she did a good job of explaining, you know, her role, and I thought that was pretty good. So
I mean, your IT department, cybersecurity, all the threats associated with the data that you hold, that's so important every single day. I mean, people want to think about municipal as having those kinds of demands, but you certainly
We
do.
certainly do.
Yeah. We're getting more sidewalks. We need more
Yeah,
sidewalks.
I mean, there's investments in ARPA for sidewalks and planning with our next pavement management plan. So
We eliminate sidewalks from the budget every year because that was the was the safety
always-
net. No sidewalks this year, but I think we're to a point with traffic that those sidewalks are so important. And you know, on Route 9, you know, there should be no project on Route 9 where they don't put sidewalks in, because we didn't have many pedestrians going up and down in the bowling alley vicinity. And now there's pedestrians there pretty regularly, and they're walking to work, it appears. And those sidewalks are so important. So I know as you're trying to make budget cuts, but I think that that's something that we shouldn't be able to just pass off anymore because of the amount of traffic.
can I take the rare opportunity to ask a question?
Sure.
What's next? What's planning?
I know.
I want to know.
That's great.
Everyone
doing?
wants to know.
Everyone wants
I've
to
been
know.
about a month out. First of all, so grateful to have had this extraordinary experience that started on the Board of Selectmen in Shrewsbury. Never did I dream then that I would have this extraordinary path of public service through the legislature and these 8 years with Governor Baker. And so I have a unique set of experiences and skills, you know, professionally as an attorney, a business owner, and in public life that I'm putting together into service to other organizations as an advisor. And so I've already had some opportunities to onboard to organizations. And I think about it this way. First of all, I want to be around thoughtful leaders, you know, capable, thoughtful leaders. I've been spoiled in that regard. I want to be associated with organizations around a mission that is really important. And I want to have more joy than pain associated with the work that I do next. Although there's always a combination of both. I want to be a little bit more on the sort of really enjoying the work that I can do to help organizations achieve their goals and bring forward the kind of culture that I feel is important here in the Commonwealth. So I'm in a really good place.
No
And
more political office?
you never know. You would say the same thing. You never know what will come next. I wouldn't be here today if when I was on the Board of Selectmen, I said I'm not going to do it. So
Right.
you just never know. But right now I'm focused here, and I really feel good about being home, literally home in this great town of ours, and being able to see and be around the people that helped give me a start. And I just want to say thank you to Hometown and for all the incredible support I've been given over these years. And it's been a great ride, and I've
You need
enjoyed
at least one
I've
summer.
enjoyed most all of it. Some of it was painful. Most all of it was
But
great.
you need at least one summer where you can kick your feet up on a lounge chair and look at the lake.
I will. I mean, I feel like life at this point feels a little different because I'm not going 24/7, leaving early, coming home late, and being in parts of the Commonwealth that are far from home. So it feels really, really good.
And
but I'm
weekends?
not one to just, retire is not a thing that I will ever feel like.
But retire is one
But
thing.
doing
But political
doing things that are
office, you
different.
had demands 7 days a week.
It's a 24/7.
And during the
commitment.
pandemic, I mean, that just magnified it.
That was tough. In hindsight, I'm glad it was us that
Yeah.
led, and in a Commonwealth where we have such amazing capabilities around science and medicine. But yeah, it was hard for everybody.
Yeah.
Let's face it. I wanted to say one thing on that though. In my work as a public servant, and certainly during the pandemic, I got to really see up front the care and commitment, especially from our emergency responders and medical professionals up and down the board, and to see their extraordinary sacrifice and commitment to the well-being and health of the people of this Commonwealth is extraordinary. The governor and I got suited up and went to work and sat, in our office and made decisions that were hard. But these are people that really put themselves into a hard situation to keep people, feeling better and help people and their families. So I feel very grateful at this moment, and I'm really glad to be home.
I'm excited to see what you do next, and you're a tremendous leader, and I thank you for everything that you helped me. You called me before I even came to Shrewsbury, and that was a huge honor, and you made me up my game. I was like, oh no, Karyn can call at any time, and it was truly a pleasure, and all the help you've given me is just phenomenal, and the opportunities that you gave me in Boston to do fun things that I would never have otherwise had the opportunity. I'm just tremendously grateful for. But I literally asked that question because I'm excited to think about what you'll do next because of your leadership skills.
Thank you, Kevin. We really appreciate that, and thank you for your hard work for the people of this town.
Thanks.
And it was actually easier to get her on this show this time than when she was actually working as a lieutenant governor because, like you said, your time wasn't your own then. And so I appreciate that you've been able to be so helpful to come here and talk to the public about your experience.
Thank you for the service, Donna. You ask a lot of important questions. Apparently, people
I haven't gotten off page
people
one.
still call you with all of their thoughts and ideas, and I think that's a real credit to you.
Thanks. Just quickly, we only have about a minute left. 2 assistant managers, have they been replaced?
David Snowden is Assistant Town Manager for Administration and Finance, but we haven't moved forward with the replacement for Kristen's position. So we're looking to right size and always kind of test that position and see what's best for the town in our next move. So once we test that out and find the right path, we'll be eager to see who's out there.
Well, when I was hearing of this before David was appointed to that position, I thought that's the first name that came to mind.
Yeah.
But I don't know who the second name is. I don't know if will you be able to promote from within?
It's certainly an opportunity. That's my goal, to always have people ready if it presents itself. But once we get that role defined, I don't think it's going to be exactly the same as the role that Kristen played. My knowledge and experience in the organization is different than it was when we put the current model in place, and things change so quickly that we want to make sure that we just don't repeat what we did in the past, but we make the right decision moving forward.
And when is the next town meeting?
Well, it's in May.
May.
May 5th.
Is it the third Monday?
Yeah, third Monday in May. So we're going back to the evening, but that fun part of the budget is just starting. So we'll release the budget next Friday, and then we'll be at Finance Committee.
When's the Finance Committee's long?
The next to last
study?
weekend in March.
So you moved it to March. Is that more practical?
It helps with the budget process, yeah. For sure.
Well, thank you so much for being here. We'll have to get you back as Karyn Citizen now. But thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.